Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming in today. I'm excited about this day and about introducing Jordan Ott as our new head basketball coach. I'm going to start off with a little bit of how we got here and why we got here. We completed an extensive head coaching search with a diverse, highly talented group of candidates. We met at different stages in different ways, but we were able to dig down on those candidates in terms of who they were as people, who they were as coaches, who they were as leaders. We were able to talk about and discuss and watch film and go over basketball stuff in terms of system, style of play, their vision for our organization, their vision for our team. We were able to cover a lot of different things during that time. Their philosophies, and where they saw us moving on to. So it was a great process. We also looked deeply into how each candidate fit into our community. We got a passionate fan base, and them fitting in with the Phoenix community was very, very important. Our fans deserve the very best, and that's what's sitting in front of you today. At the end of it, no question, clear choice, Jordan Ott stood out in every single stage of that process. What we're bringing in today is a hungry assistant coach that is now the head coach that has spent 12 years in the NBA prepping for this day. His work ethic is beyond reproach. His basketball knowledge, his forward thinking in terms of offensive schemes and systems, the blueprint for an aggressive defensive style of play fit in perfectly with everything that we've been talking about for the last 5 weeks. His leadership, his ability to develop players, his ability to develop deep relationships with players constantly stood out. In every phase of this, he was clearly the one standing out and making the most impact on myself, on Matt, and on Josh during this process. All these things were only confirmed by the players that he coached during these 12 years, as we called various players around the NBA, and the coaches that he worked with and worked for. So at this time, I'd like to have everybody give a warm welcome to the new head coach of the Phoenix Suns, Jordan Ott.
Yeah. Whoa. What a day, It's been really what a week, if I'm honest. Like, just what a whirlwind, and how truly special this is for me and my family. I'm honored to be the next head coach of the Phoenix Suns. But when you get the call and you go through your emotions, you're like, man, you've been around and been lucky to be around a lot of good people. And, it starts with the different places I've been to, and then all the different coaches and the support staff that I've been around. And I know a lot of you have reached out, and I'm truly thankful for helping me along this journey. And, part of that is the highs, and part of that's the lows. And when you sit back and you realize, man, it's a pretty cool thing to be involved in basketball. And the most important piece, over now it's 19 going on 20 years, my 7 years in college and 12 in the NBA, is the players. It's incredibly tough what you guys do. And to be an NBA player, to maintain yourself in the league, to grow, to be resilient, you're in the toughest environment in the world in the sport that you play. And for those guys that have allowed me to coach them, you've definitely helped coach me and get me better. I can still hear Pat Bev barking in my ear. I hope I've made you better, because I know that you've made me better. And without you guys, everyone that I've been around, all the players, without that, I wouldn't be sitting here. Then a special thanks to Matt Ishbia, Brian Gregory, and Josh Bartelstein for giving me this opportunity to be the head coach of this great organization in this community. The tradition of winning, the Suns basically changed the way the game has been played. And we're so excited to be here in this community. And then quickly my mind goes from that to what's next. And that's how my mind has been all weekend into this week since we've got here. What's next? And the next challenge, the next hurdle, and that's an important piece to all this, how excited I am to be going forward with you all. Thank you.
We'll open up for some questions now.
Gerald Bourget, PHNX Sports. Jordan, congratulations. Brian, good to see you as well.
Great seeing you.
Jordan, for you, you mentioned the various stops that you've been throughout your career. Obviously, you've carved out an identity as an assistant coach. Now taking that next step as a head coach, what kind of head coach do you want to be, and how do you want your players to see you as a coach?
Yeah, thanks, Gerald. I think, moving that 12 inches over is different. But I'm always going to bank on who I am as a person. That hasn't changed. I think if you ask around the people that I've been around, we're going to demand that you work. That's where it's going to start. I want them to know and believe that I'm going to help them. We, this place, we're going to help them. We're going to help them at every phase of their game. We're going to help develop them, get to a new level that they didn't think they could get to. And it's going to take all of us. And then it's tough. It's tough to play in the NBA. And I want them to know when they're out there playing that we're together. Not only your teammates, but us as coaches, all the support staff, we're all here to find solutions. And then after the game, we'll talk about it, evaluate it, get to the next.
And congratulations on Yana Flugrad with the Phoenix Suns. Just looking at your journey as a whole, you started off as a video coordinator. How do you think just the years that you've spent in the league leading up to this point will better serve you even with the players and just building those relationships?
Yeah, again, I think I've thought about that over time, and then the last week it really hit you. But it's just so many different situations that you're put into when you're in sports in a competitive environment. I've been on teams that, when we first got to Brooklyn, it was 20 wins, 20, 28, to then try to make the playoffs. And then, the last 5 years has been interesting. We had a great team with multiple superstars in Brooklyn, and those arenas and those environments change you, change the players. That's the highest level of pressure and how you maintain yourself, grow, and move it forward. Those 2 years in Brooklyn, my 2 years in LA, and then of course this last season in Cleveland have definitely put me in the fire. And I'm excited to now go forward and show all that I've learned.
Hi, Jordan. Doug Haller with The Athletic. Welcome to the Valley.
Thanks, Doug.
Just throughout your experience, when did you first start seeing that this might be possible in your career, that one day, and instead of being an assistant or whatever, that you might be sitting in the lead chair for an NBA franchise?
Yeah, Doug, I think I have too much appreciation for the profession to believe that, guaranteed it's going to happen. You hope to put yourself around enough great coaches, great organizations, and then the players that really force you to think outside the box, be creative. I think those last 5 years, and especially, in the last 12 months, really then taking action on what I've learned, specifically over those, the 2 in LA, 2 in Brooklyn, to then put it to action. And then the way we played, the way the Cleveland Cavaliers played last year, that's how everyone wants to play. And that's the exciting piece, being there at the ground level to build that, and then take that to a new place where we can build it here.
Jordan, back here in the back right. Kellen Olson, Arizona Sports. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the Valley.
Thank you.
With what Brian was mentioning about offensive and defensive philosophies, I'm sure you're chomping at the bit to craft your own style of play. What comes to mind for you when Brian mentions those philosophies and sort of the key bullet points for you with the forward thinking that he was mentioning?
Yeah, everyone's going to say pace, right? So offensively playing faster, I think a way to look at it is playing earlier in the clock. We know the efficiency of offensive possessions, start high and they drop. So how often can we get a good look early in the possession? So we're going to play fast. We're going to move. And, the cutting piece is important. And we saw that this past season. Teams started to pick up on it. But we're going to cut, we're going to move bodies, and then we're going to find ways to get extra possessions. So we're going to crash, find ways to get extra possessions, because, we know how important it is to win the possession game. Not only do you got to get high-quality shots, you got to be there in the possession game. And then defensively, like BG mentioned, I want to play aggressive. We see it in the playoffs. We see exactly two teams that are at the end of the day in the finals, what aggressive defensive mentality does to the offense and how it impacts the offense. And then we're going to communicate. Defensively, it's so random. Offenses are becoming more conceptual. How we communicate, and then at the end of the day, defense needs effort. All-out effort all the time. And then we're going to have to be connected. Through the 48 minutes, there's going to be some type of adversity. Can we stay connected to move past that and be more connected for a longer period of time than the other team? And the last piece, and I've already hit on it a little bit, is we're going to do it collaboratively. And again, I think I've seen the change in the last handful of years in the NBA is we need everyone to help and find solutions. That's all departments, all of us, to help these guys not only get better, but then find solutions before the game, in game, and then post game. So that's going to be our playing style. Again, I am chomping at the bit to try to get this thing, get on the court, but to the guys' credit, they've been in here working, so it's definitely an exciting part.
Hey, Jordan, Shane Young with Forbes. Welcome to Phoenix.
Thanks, Shane.
Just curious, what does it mean for you to have Devin's support throughout this whole process, and what has stuck out to you about him throughout his career?
So, yeah, I'll tell you a little story about Devin. 1-on-0 workout in a draft workout. Again, it was just coach, player, rebounder, and I can remember how he communicated and competed with himself in a 1-on-0 workout. And we left that workout knowing that he was different. And then to see how early he had success in his career, of course from afar, but bubble to 2021 season to take this team to the finals, and all the great things that he's accomplished so early in his career, being a all-time leading scorer. And he's in his prime, ready to rock. And again, we need to help him. And that's my job as the coach, to help him in multiple areas, help him find solutions, so he knows that he has us behind him. Make or miss, end the game on the line, make or miss, we're behind him.
Hey, Coach. Dwayne Rankin, Arizona Republic. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Welcome to Phoenix. I got actually a question for you and a question for Brian. First with you, when I look at just following up what has happened here as far as guys getting 1 year with Frank and then you have Budenholzer, was there any trepidation at all with you? I understand it's the first opportunity that you could have to be a head coach, but did you have any thought of, I'm getting ready to fall into something where the last couple of coaches haven't got but just 1 year?
No, I mean, I think we're all aware of what we sign up for when we're an NBA basketball coach. And again, I'm not here to look back what has happened. I'm here right now and focused to move this thing forward. That's my sole energy. It's been a busy couple days, a lot going on, but that's exciting. And I'm focused on moving this group forward from here on out.
Okay. And then Brian, the same, just tips around along the same lines, but for you, as far as the process and talking with the coaches, how important is it to say, okay, look, this is a process and it's not going to be a 1 year deal, or is it, hey, look, we're trying to get it done in 1 year, and if it not, we might look to move forward?
No, I think, as Jordan said, anybody in this profession, the coaching profession, as Jordan said, knows the challenges that come with it. But during the process, we understood that we wanted to find the right coach that fit a lot of the stuff that I talked about a few weeks ago, that Matt talked about a couple weeks previous, in terms of building that identity, building a team that this great community can be proud of. He described how we're going to play. That was the buzzword. The alignment was there in terms of that, And now, as I said a few weeks ago, now we got to go execute. And if we execute, then we're going to be in a great place. And that's what we're excited about.
Coach Richard Sines, Fox 10, congratulations. Welcome to the Valley. It was mentioned, you got the support of Devin Booker. Other people have also come out and kind of backed you. Draymond Green, for one, a guy that seems not easy to impress. Darvin Ham, one of your colleagues. You got players here supporting you. How exciting would it be for you to prove these people, including Mr. Gregory, right with this decision?
Yeah, I'm not into proving people right, changing the doubter's mind. I just don't think like that, to be honest with you. It's what I do on a day-to-day basis, who I want to help. That's important to me. And you do have to be process-oriented. In this business, you have to be process-oriented. There's so many highs and lows to it. Are we getting better? That's what I'm concerned about.
Elliot Polikoff, Arizona's Family, 3TV, CBS 5. Congratulations. Welcome to the Valley.
Thanks.
You've obviously been hoping to make this next step in your career and become a head coach probably for, a while. And, what excited you specifically about this Suns opportunity and the chance to be a part of this organization?
Again, I think, a lot of the things that BG has already stated, and this is an exciting opportunity because first off, the players, it's always the players, and it's the actual organization. And I know that I have the support from above me, that we can do this step by step, to do it the right way, to build this thing out. I think as you look across the NBA, there's so much parity around the league. And even where Indiana was a couple years ago to where they are now, the team in Cleveland, 16-win jump, we can make that jump, but we're going to do it in a systematic way. And I know BG, Matt, Josh, we all share the same thinking that we can do this in a systematic way, step by step, to build this thing out right.
Hey, Jordan. Brendan Clean, Locked on Suns podcast. We've seen a lot of first-time head coaches recently talk about the value of experienced assistants, JJ in LA or Joe Mazzulla, people like that. How are you thinking about building out a staff, surrounding yourself with people you could trust and maybe who have that experience?
Yeah, I think even in the process, this comes up, and you want your staff to be high character and high care. So who they are as people, loyal, trustworthy, and then do they do the work? And if we can consistently find that in our staff, we're in good shape. And I'll also say I have so much respect for the coaching profession that we know how hard it is to rise in this profession and how hard it is when some type of change like this occurs. So we're going to take our time. We're going to fill this thing out right, again, to help our group, help our players, make sure we're all on the same page. But yes, we will be building our staff out throughout the month.
Hey, Jordan, over here. David Brandt with the Associated Press. Congratulations on the job. Excuse me, there's been some jokes that they might rename the franchise the Phoenix Spartans with all the Michigan State ties. I was just wondering from your perspective how much that connection meant with Brian, with Matt, and what you think that brings to the table.
So I'll say it like this. I've earned the right to be here. I've spent 20 years of working as hard as I possibly can to be here in this spot. I've been around great people, great coaches, great players to allow me to grow, put me in tough spots to see if I can get better. So I know I've earned this opportunity. I'm going to work as hard as I can from here on out to prove that I am here for the right reasons and I've earned this opportunity. So that excites me. That excites me going forward.
Jordan, Craig Fouey, ABC 15 Sports right here. How excited are you just to step into that head coaching role for the first time? And you've been down the road as an assistant, and I know you've coached Summer League, but what is this like for you, for your family, just to be the head coach of the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, incredible. It's, like I said earlier, it's just the whole week in general, just incredibly thankful for the journey and the people that you've been with. And then it quickly shifts to what's next and how can I help. You know, we have the draft coming, we have summer league coming, so that's where my mind is. I'll enjoy the evening with my family. They leave tomorrow, and we'll get back to work.
Gerald Bourget, PHNX Sports again. This is a question for the both of you. In the past, we've seen and heard that the head coaches are involved with the front office in terms of personnel decisions and talking that through. Jordan, you went through a list of philosophies that you want the Suns to play with. How does that conversation look in terms of moving forward and what the roster might look like, roster moves, that sort of thing?
Want me to go? You know, a lot of that goes back to the piece of us working together on a daily basis. The communication piece of where the roster is, what it looks like. This is our style of play. Is there someone out there that fits great for our style of play that's available? That, as Jordan mentioned, the draft coming up. We've had a couple draft workouts this week that Jordan's been able to be at. He sits in on the debrief meeting afterwards. So again, one of the best parts of this is the relationship and partnership that we're going to have on a daily basis. And with that comes personnel questions and team makeup and different things like that. And when you have a common goal and a shared vision, that makes it a lot easier.
Coach, I'm sorry, Brian over here. Just to piggyback off what Gerald said, obviously, Jordan, you have a relationship with Kevin Durant, but then obviously trying to move forward. What's the process in terms of tying the two, that you may move forward without Kevin, and yet he's trying to build a team?
Well, again, we look at all our players, and Jordan and I have talked, and as you mentioned, Jordan has obviously thought the world of Kevin, has a great relationship, coached him the whole bit. But as you know, I appreciate you asking the question. I know you have to ask it. But as you know, when it comes to contract negotiations, player contracts and so forth, we don't discuss those. But it's something that, in terms of our team and so forth, we're always talking about building our team.
Hey, Jordan, just from your time around the league, what are the most important steps to building trust and the relationships with your players?
Yeah, great question. I think that is the most important piece to coaching. And to be in the NBA, you obviously have to be talented. I think right now in the NBA, you not only have to be talented, but you have to have high character. So initially, everyone, will be respectful of the position, but it quickly turns to, can I help them? And once they know you can help them, that helps the relationship. That helps you coach them once that relationship is formed. So when I prove and when our staff proves that we can help them, that's when you got a good thing going. And that's where we're going to be building to.
Jordan, Hayden Silly with Clutch Points. First off, nice to meet you. Congrats on the job. Brian, nice to see you again.
Good seeing you.
Kind of piggybacking off of Shane's point about relatability, I'm just curious from your perspective when it comes to relating to players, when you are able to relate to them on a personal level, how does that impact or sort of elevate their game on the basketball court?
I think like any good team, and you're trying to find a way to connect. The best or most common now that I use is children. It's an easy way to connect with players. And then the young players, it's your experiences, But it all comes back to time. Spending time with these guys, developing that relationship, so then when something goes a little off, And then we can quickly get everyone back on the same page, moving in the right direction. But relationships are built through trust with time. And that's what we'll be looking to build.
One thing real quick along those same lines was, during this process, even kind of before it started, met with a lot of our players, talked to some other players on other teams throughout the league in terms of just a profile for what the successful head coach would look like in the NBA right now. And it was amazing how connected those answers were with, and I met with our young guys to our older guys. You know, players today want quality. They want to know that their head coach is a good guy, you know, that there's values and that they're going to be treated in a valuable way, not just them as players, but them as people. And the other people around the organization are treated that way by the head coach. They want substance. They want to know, as Jordan just said, that this guy knows what he's talking about and can help them grow as a player while also incorporating that growth into the success of a team. We have a Hall of Famer from the Suns organization that had a great line. He told me, substance commands the room now. And I took that to heart as going through this process. They want a coach who's honest. Players may not always like to hear what's being told, but they want an honest evaluation. And last but not least, they want standards. Guys want to know what's going to be expected of them, and they want to be held accountable, and they want everybody held accountable. So as we went through it, every time I went through this, that's Jordan Ott. That's the guy sitting right here. That's the guy that when I went through the characteristics with our current players, and as I said, players around the league, because I wanted a different perspective, that's exactly what we got.
Jordan, when you look at your extensive player development background, you just mentioned the draft workout with Book. Over your time, what are some of the key attributes that you found in those spaces that have helped not only evaluate players before you get them, but then afterwards in developing them? And how involved do you plan to be with the next couple of weeks in the draft coming up?
Yeah, just over time, it's the guys that have high character. This is a competitive league, and you have to trust that that player is going to do exactly what they say, or it doesn't work. So having high character is very important to me and to us. The other piece is having great professional habits. Again, coming back to the word, showing up on time, treating people with respect, knowing that there's something bigger than just yourself. And then just over time, that work with the high character that you have tends to give you a chance, because it is incredibly tough to be an NBA player. It's incredibly tough to survive for multiple years in this league. So those two things is what we will look for, what I'm most excited about looking for in the future, the draft. And that's, I've only been here a couple of days, so I've seen a couple draft workouts. I'm coming late into this process, but yeah, that's what we want the Phoenix Suns to be about.
Coach, Richard Sines over here. You talked about earning the right to be here, and when you look at your path, it's pretty obvious. Starting out in the video room in Atlanta, a room that's produced guys like Eric Spoelstra and David Griffin, who have been pretty successful. When you look at your grind that you've grinded over the years, how much do you think that has prepared you for this particular moment, where you maybe say, I could take something from this coach here, or this coach here, or this situation with this team here, and kind of make it into my own with this opportunity for you?
Yeah, so I think it always starts with the work in the video room. To succeed in the video room, you're going to have to work long hours, be available, be there when no one is. I think a part of being in the video room, you have to be curious, to learn, to know that you don't have all the answers. I think I have carried that with me. I definitely think in Cleveland, Kenny's the most curious man in basketball. There's other ways to learn about the game, but also best practices in the training room, best practices in the weight room. That's what I strive to do, is to be curious and continue to learn. I think my path has taught me to be process-oriented. Again, highs and lows, wins and losses. The help of analytics has helped me there. Maybe not quite as bad as you think you are, or maybe not quite as good. The part of analytics has helped me there. Just stay steady, just continue to get better. And then to be consistent. So you can work, but it's hard to consistently work to make yourself better and stand out. And then I think the last piece of my journey that when you sit back and you think about, we're all competitors it just comes out in different ways. So having that competitive edge that fuels your fire, that, you know, there's going to be people out there. And we want all to get to the mountaintop. And without that fuel, that day-to-day grind of it all, it's really hard to get better and be successful. So when I look over my journey, I'm proud of how it's gone and now where it's going to go. But those things aren't going to leave me. They're always going to be a part of me, and for that I'm thankful.